welcome back to the channel. This is Kathy. A story came up today about the use of Autopens that I wanted to talk about. And I have to be honest, I had never heard about the use of Autopens in the White House. So Trump is raising the question about Biden using Autopens for a good portion of his presidency. He's raising the question that are the pardons of the lawmakers who served in the House Select Committees to investigate the January 6th Capitol riots and other pardons, are they void? He's alleging that they have been signed by Autopens and that Biden had no idea that this was happening. And I think one of the things that he's thinking about are the preemptive pardons that happened at the last hour of his presidency, practically, where he pardoned people like Fauci, like Liz Cheney, and it was very questionable. And so Trump is raising the question, were these pardons done by Biden with his full knowledge, or were they done by other people using an Autopen? It's a very, very interesting question. So let me give you a little bit of history about what an Autopen is in case people don't know. So I found this article about the history of the Autopen, and it says the Autopen or robot pen is a machine used to duplicate signatures. Unlike scanning signatures, an actual pen produces a signature with ink. The first president to use the Autopen extensively was Thomas Jefferson. So it says the Autopen was patented in the U.S. in 1803, and Jefferson wasted no time acquiring and using the machine. It's worth noting that today's Autopen machines are different from the original ones used by Jefferson. So a little farther down in the article, it talks about presidential use of the Autopen today. Since Jefferson, various presidents have made use of the Autopen. Some were guarded about it, while others were more open about its use. Whereas once the official White House position was to deny the existence or usage of the Autopen, today its existence is more of an open secret. Harry Truman was rumored to make use of the device. Gerald Ford was open about his utilization of the Autopen, but it was Lyndon B. Johnson who blew the door open off the entire affair by allowing the device to be photographed in the White House, appearing in the National Enquirer with the article, "The Robot That Sits In for the President." So it goes on to say, in May 2011, while attending the G8 summit in France, Barack Obama became the first president to use the Autopen in order to sign the expiring Patriot Act. In November of that year, he signed an appropriations bill with the Autopen from Indonesia, and in 2013, Obama used the Autopen yet again from Hawaii in order to meet the deadline for signing the fiscal cliff bill into law several time zones over in Washington, D.C. So it talks about the constitutionality of the Autopen. Though there were rumblings from the Republican camp, the constitutional right of the president to sign a bill with the Autopen has neither been challenged nor tested in court. The constitutionality of a proxy signature has most certainly been challenged, with some legal experts asserting that the problem is not the use of the proxy, but the principle, in this case a president, and the proxy, the Autopen, are not together at the same time. So that seems like it could be a problem. The president should be there while signing. Can he sign with an Autopen when he's in another country or another state? That's the whole question. So the question that Trump is raising is, how often did Biden use the Autopen, and was it ever used without his knowledge? Now let's look at a couple videos here.
And scandal.
Are those executive orders, those pardons from the former president now null and void? I think so.
A group called the Oversight Project discovered that Biden used an Autopen to sign pardons. What is an Autopen?
The Autopen. It's a machine that stores a signature and replicates it. One model or another is used by lots of lawmakers and celebrities as an alternative to signing a million autographs.
President Obama made history by authorizing the first use of the Autopen signature.
President Obama first used the Autopen to sign a bill into law back in 2011.
The pardons that sleepy Joe Biden gave to the unselect committee of political thugs and many others are hereby declared void, vacant, and of no further force or effect because of the fact that they were done by Autopen. In other words, Joe Biden did not sign them, but more importantly, he did not know anything about them.
It may be even worse, according to the Oversight Project. We gathered every document we could find with Biden's signature over the course of his presidency. All used the same Autopen signature except for the announcement that the former president was dropping out of the race last year. This news prompted Trump to post this image of Joe Biden as an Autopen machine.
Did he know what he was doing? Did he authorize it? Or is this somebody in an office, maybe a radical left lunatic, just signing whatever that person was?
Speaker Mike Johnson previously told this story about an interaction he had with Joe Biden when he was president. This would seem to indicate that Trump is asking the right questions.
Real quickly, Mr. President, can I ask you a question? I cannot answer this from my constituents in Louisiana. Sir, why did you pause LNG exports to Europe? Like, I don't understand, liquefied natural gas is in great demand by our allies. Why would you do that? And he looks at me stunned with this, and he said, I didn't do that. And I said, Mr. President, yes, you did. It was an executive order 3 weeks ago. And he goes, no, I didn't do that. And he's arguing with me. He was not lying to me. He genuinely did not know what he had signed. And I walked out of that meeting with fear and loathing because I thought, we're in serious trouble. Who is running the country? I don't know who put the paper in front of him, but he didn't know.
Back to the pardons being null and void.
Are those executive orders, those pardons from the former president now null and void? Well, I think so. It's not my decision. That'll be up to a court. But I would say that they're null and void because I'm sure Biden didn't have any idea that it was taking place. It looked like we had an Autopen for a president, and we would have been better off if we had, probably. But it looks to me like, that's a big subject. I'm sure you won't ask about that.
The deep thinkers at MSNBC had a predictably hilarious reaction.
It would almost be a joke if it weren't so kind of horrifying.
And this won't be the end of it. It'll be another attempt, perhaps even to ignoring things like presidential term limits.
He's trying to break through all of the norms and all of what are the boundaries of presidential power and establish himself as king.
Now, of course, the left is going to disagree with Trump's assertion here. That's to be expected. The story that the speaker relayed here in the video raises an interesting question. Did President Biden sign all of his executive orders? Did he know what was being signed? Were things being signed behind his back? It's a very interesting question. Now, let's look at Caroline Leavitt had a press conference today and took a question from Caitlin Collins. So we'll see how she handled this question.
Questions for you, one on the flights, but first on the president's post overnight, saying that the pardons that were issued by President Biden preemptively to members of the January 6th committee, that they're now null and void. Have attorneys here at the White House told President Trump that he has the legal authority to undo a pardon simply because it was signed by Autopen, as he said?
The president was begging the question that I think a lot of journalists in this room should be asking about whether or not the former president of the United States, who I think we can all finally agree was cognitively impaired. I know it took people some time to finally admit that, but we all know that to be true, as evidenced by his disastrous debate performance against President Trump during the campaign. I digress on that. But the president was raising the point that did the president even know about these pardons? Was his legal signature used without his consent or knowledge? And that's not just the president or me raising those questions, Caitlin. According to the New York Post, there are Biden officials from the previous White House who raised those questions and wondered if the president was even consulted about his legally binding signature being signed onto documents. And so I think it's a question that everybody in this room should be looking into, because certainly that would propose perhaps criminal or illegal behavior if staff members were signing the President of the United States autograph without his consent.
Biden is on the record talking about issuing preemptive pardons to these people.
But was he aware of his signature being used on every single pardon? That's a question you should ask the Biden White House.
Is there any evidence on that he wasn't aware of it?
You're a reporter. You should find out.
Okay,
Sean.
So I think this is a very valid question that Trump is asking. I think it's definitely something that should be looked into. If people were given pardons without Biden's knowledge, I think that's a problem. If people were signing pardons for people using an Autopen without his knowledge, I think that's a problem. So I think it's legitimate. I think it's something that should be looked into. I'm not taking the position that Biden is guilty of anything or that his administration is guilty of doing something illegal. That's not my position. I just think that a valid question has been raised by President Trump, and I think it should be looked into. But what do you guys think? Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Do you think it's valid? Do you think it should be left alone? I'm interested to know what you think. And thanks for joining the channel, and I'll see you on the next one.